Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of our Gmail client. So in today's lesson, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be learning how to take our image, which we created in our previous tutorial. If you guys haven't checked that out, I'll put a little link on screen and in the description as well, if I can remember to do so. But this is what we created in our last tutorial, where we learned how to create just the standard graphics. I did end up deleting it by mistake, so I had to remake it really quickly, but I'm okay with this design. It doesn't really matter all that much. So we're going to be taking this image, importing it into Netbeans, and then creating our fields, our close button, our send button, and just the stuff like that to get it ready for our final tutorial where we actually learn how to code everything together. So of course the first thing that you guys want to do is you want to open up Netbeans, and as you guys can see, I've already opened it up. We're going to click on File on the top left corner, New Project, or you can press Ctrl N. We're going to make sure that we have the Java category selected. And then on the right hand side tab, with the projects tab, we're going to make sure we have Java application selected and then click on next. Then the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to untick create main class, because we're going to be creating our own main class a bit later. And in project name, you guys can name it anything you want. I'm going to call mine Gmail client. There we go. Now this name doesn't affect anything like your final executable name or anything like that. It's just to help you identify which project is which in your own Netbeans project folder. If you guys don't like it, you can simply just right click, go to refactor, and change the name if you want. So once we've done that, we're going to expand the source packages by double clicking on it. Okay, so as you guys can see, we have default package. Now by default, Netbeans recommends that we do not use default package, so we need to create our own package. And a package basically just houses all your it could be images, it could be sounds, it could be GUIs, it could be code, it could be anything that you wish. The package will contain all of that inside of it. So the way that we create a package is we're just going to right click on source packages, go down to new, and click on Java package. Now by convention, when creating packages in Java, it's good to name it your domain name backwards. Mine is teknikindustries.com, so I'm going to name mine com.teknikindustries. And then give it some random name. It could be anything. It could be something like maybe email. And inside this package, we're going to put all our code and all our GUIs. Now we're going to create another package, basically the same thing, com.teknikindustries.images. And images, this package is basically going to house our images. You can create as many packages as you like, doesn't really matter, but to keep things neat and clean and tidy, I'm going to put all my code and GUIs into the first package, which we created a few seconds ago, and then we're going to create all our images and put it inside this package called com.teknikindustries.images. We're going to click on finish. And as you guys can see, we have two packages in our source package. Then I'm simply just going to drag and drop our image, which we created in the previous tutorial, into com.teknikindustries.images. And as you guys will see, when we expand this package, also the icon color changes. But when we expand it, you can see email sender.png, and this is what shows up in Netbeans. So you can do simple things like zoom in and change the scale and stuff like that. Doesn't really matter. Just some basic photo tools. So the first thing that we want to do once we've created our two packages is to actually create our Jframe form. Now Jframe form is basically this frame. As you guys can see, Netbeans has its own frame, which is what I'm dragging it around with. That is the enclosed frame. So we're going to go ahead and create one of those. So we're going to right click on com.teknikindustries.email, the package we created earlier. Right click, go down to new, and then go down to Jframe form. And it's going to ask us to give us a class name. So I'm just going to name mine email main GUI. You guys can give it any name you wish. Once again, it's just to identify for yourself in your own projects. So email main GUI, which says that this is the main Jframe form, and it's a GUI because I added GUI on the end, which you can name it anything you want. That's how I identify. So the first thing you notice is that you guys can change the size, and what we want to do is we want to change the size to 630 by 450, and the simplest way to do this is to go onto one of the edges, and you guys will see that the arrow changes to this double arrow, and once it changes, you're just going to double click, and this is going to pop up. So luckily you guys can see that we got to 630 pixels, which is quite impressive. And I'm just going to simply change the height to 450, so 630 by 450, and you guys will see that it changes to that size. The next thing is to change the layout to an absolute layout. So we're going to right click anywhere on our Jframe form, go down to set layout, and we're going to change it from free design to absolute layout. So this allows us to add components, and it does not have any sort of reference or when you position saying it's not relative to something else. So that is why we use absolute layout. You guys can position anything anywhere you want, even elements on top of other elements, which is essential for what we want to do now. So once you've done this, you guys can go ahead and run your program. And if we click on this little play button, you guys will see it'll tell us to select the main class. So I'm just going to click on OK. And it's going to pop up probably on the top left-hand corner. And as you guys can see, it popped up on the top corner. Now mine popped up very small because there's no element inside of it, but it doesn't really matter. What you guys can see is this window that shows up. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make it non-resizable. So I'm going to right click on this, go down to properties, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit until we find resizable. It's near the bottom of our other properties section. And we're just going to untick resizable so that you can't drag and change the size. Then we're going to change the minimum size and maximum size to both equal 630, 450. So it's both the same size of our actual GUI. So the maximum and minimum size should be 630 by 450. So that will prevent it from actually going into this tiny window you guys saw earlier. And this is what you guys can see our Jframe looks like, which looks quite similar to what you guys see here with our Netbeans frame. So once we have that, the next thing to do is change the theme. When you guys run it, you guys will notice that the theme it's kind of like a darkish color, which means it's using the Nimbus theme. So if I add something like a button and I use the design preview shows it looks like a modern Windows design, but when I run the program, it shows a weird sort of design. So in order to change that, we're going to click on the source code, which is right here next to the design tab. We're going to scroll down a bit until we see look and feel settings code. And as you guys can see, it says set the Nimbus look and feel. We're just going to expand this code by clicking the plus icon on the left hand side, and we're going to look for the string right here which says Nimbus, and we're going to simply change it to Windows. And then we're going to close it up again, press Ctrl S for save. And as you guys can see, it's now back to the default Windows theme. Then we're going to right click, go down to properties once again. Now we want this window to pop up in the center. So the way that we do this is we click on the code tab, we click on generate pack, go to generate resize code, and we're just going to change generate center and add the tick box. Then we're going to click on generate size and untick that, and this will allow us to open up our GUI in the center of our screen. So now that we have it popping up in the middle, the next thing we want to do is we want to actually remove this frame. The reason being is because our image already has a custom built frame on it. So another way to do this is right click, go back to properties, go back to the properties tab on the top left corner, scroll down a bit until we see undecorated, and we're going to click undecorated to be true. And now when you run this, you guys will see just a plain window pop up with no frame surrounding it. Okay, we're going to click on the X button. Now that we have that, we're going to add our image, and the way that we add images is through JLabels. So on the swing controls on the right hand side, I'm going to click on a JLabel. I'm going to click and drag it all the way to the top corner where it says, if you guys look where this this little light bulb icon is, you guys will see it'll change to saying place the component at 0,0. You want to make sure it's at 0,0. Then you just want to drag it all the way to the extents of your GUI and right click on it, go to edit text, and then remove the text in it. So we're going to right click on our JLabel. Now keep in mind that the JLabel now goes over our JFrame. So when we right click and go to properties, it brings up the JLabel properties. Okay. And now in the JLabel properties, we want to scroll down and make sure that the width and height is set to 630 by 450 to make sure that it extends the entire window. Then we're going to go to icon. We're going to click on these three dots in the right hand corner. And as you guys remember, we created two packages earlier. So you can see that our images are within our project. So we need to select the correct packages where our image is set into. And ours is set into com.teknikindustries.images. So we're going to click on that. We're going to click on file. We're going to click on email sender.png, and we're going to click on OK. And as you guys can see, our GUI has popped up. And this is what it looks like. This is a actual GUI, but you guys can see nothing actually works. It basically just looks like an image. So we're going to go ahead and code the X button now. And by the way, guys, the only way to close it is to right click and click on close. So we're going to be using another JLabel. So we're just going to drag and drop a JLabel somewhere on the top right hand corner. Okay, scroll down or make it a little bit bigger. Now you guys will want to edit the properties, and you guys can see that we can't do so because what has happened is the JLabel has moved to the bottom of the J tree, which means it's behind everything else. So we just want to click on JLabel 2 and drag it above JLabel 1 so that it's set on top. Going to right click, edit text, and we're just simply going to edit the text and set the correct size, and I think that's a fairly decent size. I'm not going to go to perfect it, but if you want to perfect it, you can right click, go down to properties, and start editing X and Y coordinates and the width and height as well. So at this point you want to also label your JLabels. So I'm going to right click on JLabel 2. I'm going to go to change variable name, and I'm going to name this as close. I'm also going to click on JLabel 1, right click on it, go down to change variable name. I'm going to set this as background. Okay, so on our JLabel properties, we want to right click, go down to properties, and we just want to change the cursor to let the user know that you can actually click it. So when we scroll down, we're going to look for cursor. We're going to change default cursor to hand cursor. There it is right there. And now when we run our program, you guys will see that it changes to the hand cursor when you hover over that JLabel. You guys can see it still won't close, but we're going to do that now. So when you right click on this, go down to events, mouse, let's go with mouse released. Actually, let's go with mouse. Yeah, let's go with mouse release, guys. So in mouse release, it's going to take us to the code. I'm just going to edit this out real quick. And in here, we're just going to type in system.exit, open close bracket, 0, semicolon. Now, of course, you guys need to know some programming knowledge before you attempt these tutorials. Then you click on Control S, and system.exit basically ends your program. So now when you run the program and you click on the X button, it's going to close the program, and you guys will see it'll say build successful, total time 3 seconds, or however long your program was running for. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add the JLabel for the send button. So we're just going to drag and drop another JLabel. And that looks fine to me. Remember, guys, move your JLabel on top of the background layer. Edit the variable name, and we're just going to call this send button. Edit the text out of the JLabel, and that's fine for now. Now what we want to do is we want to create these three, and these are also the last part of the tutorial. We want to create these three text fields so you can actually type into it. So we're going to be using something called the JText field, which is right here. So we're just going to drag and drop a text field, just position it there and extend it out all the way to the end. Now once again, you have to move it to the top. You're going to right click on the JText text field, go down to properties, and the first thing that we want to remove is the border. Okay, so you guys can see it's called XP full border. I'm going to change this to no border. I'm also then going to scroll down, and I'm going to look for opaque, and I'm going to untick opaque. So now you guys can see it is completely transparent, and we can just edit the size again. Okay guys, now that looks pretty good to me. So the next thing we want to do is we want to change the text field color. So if we scroll all the way to the top, you want to change the foreground color to white, whatever color you guys prefer. And then lastly, we're just going to change the actual text font. So you guys can see we have the font right here. But when you click on it, we can change it to anything we like. I'm going to go with Sego UI plain. Probably with 14-point text, maybe. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me, guys. Now when we run our program, what will happen is you guys can actually edit whatever is in this field. hello@gmail.com. And that looks pretty cool. Oh, no, we don't want that. We want hello. There we go. So the thing that I don't like is the cursor caret is black. I want it to be white. So I'm going to right click on this, go down to properties, and I'm going to change the caret color, which is right here. Instead of being black, I'm going to change it to white. I'm also going to edit the text in here. So instead of saying JText field 1, I'm just going to backspace that in the text parameter, and I'm going to click on close. So I'm going to change this variable name to be, let's say, to email. I'm then going to copy this by pressing right click, go down to copy. Then I want to click on this JFrame, okay? I'm going to click on this JFrame right here, right click on that, go down to paste, and it's going to paste to email 1. I'm going to move that all the way to the top, and I just want to drag it down to CC. I'm just going to edit the position to make it a little bit more precise. There we go. And I'm going to change this one to say CC or CC email, which you guys can do. Okay guys, so we have to and CC done, so we can actually start typing in here. The last thing and the most important thing is to actually have the message. So for the message, we're going to use something called a JText area, which is right here. I'm going to drag and drop it in position, extend it out to whatever size I feel is good, which is pretty good. I'm going to drag it to the top, and as you guys can see, this is what the message pane looks like. Now, the JText area is not the same as the JText field, so we're going to go through some edits right now. So we're going to click on this, go down to properties, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the text, okay? So we're simply going to change this to Sego UI, or whatever color you guys use, or sorry, font, whatever font you guys use. Click on OK, change the foreground to white, and now the only thing that we can do is to change the background color. So you guys can see we can select some sort of greenish color, and it changes the background. So the only way that we can get this to work, you guys will see that opaque will not actually work. You guys can see opaque changes into this grayish color, so opaque doesn't work for the same thing. So the only way to make it disappear is to actually set the same color as the background. So I'm going to select the RGB color of turquoise, and it's going to copy it to my clipboard, and I'm just going to paste it in the background parameter. We just want to delete these brackets. There you go, and that looks pretty good to me. Now all that we have to do now is to get rid of the border. So if you scroll down a little bit, similar to the JText field, we have border. We got to change margin border to no border. Okay guys, and that's what it looks like so far. It looks pretty good. However, the thing is still there. Now that's because a JText area also contains something called a scroll pane, and the reason why we have a scroll pane is that when you type, you guys can still end up scrolling, which as you guys can see is happening right now. So you still have the scrolling page right here. So the scrolling page has, once again, it has its own properties. So we want to click on the JScroll pane. It's called the JScroll pane. It's not called a JText area. However, the JText area is a child component or of the parent, which is a JScroll pane. So we want to right click on the scroll pane, go down to properties, and you guys will see that we have a border. So we're going to simply change XP full border to no border, and that's going to get rid of the border completely. When we go back into the JText area properties, we also want to change the caret color, instead of being black, to be white. Then we're simply going to click on OK, close, etc, etc. And as you guys can see, you can type in emails, blah blah blah, whoever at gmail.com. Hello, this is a test of whatever. So there you guys go. You guys can see how to create our GUI using a simple image which we created in a previous tutorial. And in the next tutorial, we're going to actually learn how to code this whole thing up so that we can actually click on the send button, and it's going to send an email to this guy right here and this guy right here, if they exist, which they probably don't. So anyways guys, I just want to thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks again for watching, guys.